The rumour is Neil Robertson has some new technology on his cue that's allowing him to play shots like this on the way to winning the World Grand Prix. Unfortunately, we don't know what that new technology is, which might make some of these shots a little bit unplayable, but despite that, we're still going to try to recreate all the best shots from the World Grand Prix as accurately as possible before playing them in the fewest possible attempts. So we might as well begin with Neil Robertson then, getting into the reds here off the blue. I love how much arc he gets on the cue ball, but will this be something I'm actually able to recreate? Well, I'm going to need to pot the blue first, but I think that shows quite well just how difficult this shot is. I've got it on my second attempt, but need to get into the cue ball better. I've had to play it a little bit slower than I would have liked there, but I've got into the reds just enough to be on one. Without any special technology on my cue, I think that's about as well as I can play that one. However, this Mark Selby one, I think I can definitely get a little bit better, as long as I can find the correct angle to get the path through all the balls and leave it completely safe on the red on the top cushion. Mark would go on to lose this frame, however he'd win the match by 4 frames to 2. On my first attempt, I was playing this with the belief that if I got through the red and blue gap, I'd automatically head down towards the red. Unfortunately, my table doesn't slide as much as the ones on TV, so I had to play this with a lot of right-hand side, but I'm pretty happy to have got that on my second. This Kyren Wilson shot does win him the frame, and it's a deciding frame. He pots the thin black, playing the cue ball perfectly round 4 cushions here to just about finish on the red on the top cushion. Had he hit this any harder, he would have just gone too far and would have been snookered by the black. He would then go on to make the clearance and finish off the frame, taking the match. I simply haven't struck low enough on the cue ball on my first attempt there, so if I just strike it a little bit lower like that, I'm going to miss the brown. But this also looks like it's got a bit too much pace. The cue ball's stopped by the black spot, but I think it just about goes. And in fact it does, quite easily in the end. After getting the white in the jaws of the pocket, John Higgins must have thought he completely prevented Shaun Murphy from potting a ball in his next visit. However, Shaun had different ideas. This red allowed him to play a snooker from which he'd go on to win the frame from. This is a particularly awkward shot from this position. Normally I'd have it a bit easier, but the pockets were relatively generous at the World Grand Prix. I'm still happy to get it after 2 attempts though, because I thought it was a bit harder than that. Neil Robertson's 3-0 in front and looking to finish off the match against Yuan Sejun here as he pots this long red and screws the cue ball back down the table. I could definitely do with some new technology here, however I'm just going to have to settle with playing this shot with the magic cue ball. Unfortunately, there's nothing else I can do here as my table simply isn't reactive enough to play this shot normally. It's not really that the cue ball's lighter than the other balls. It is a couple of grams lighter, but that's not really why it screws back. It's what I've done to the cue ball that makes it react a little bit more crazily. You wouldn't want to play a frame with it, but for this type of shot on a one-off, it's actually not too bad and allows me to play it properly, or at least try to if I can pot the red. So as long as I can do that, I should have a chance. It's gone in. That's probably as many shots as I think this would normally take because it's pretty difficult. Not too much to say about this one, other than it's a really nice pot from Mark Selby that gets him good position on the black, from which he'd go on to win the frame, making a 96 break along the way. This would give him a 4-2 lead, but he'd narrowly lose out to Stuart Bingham in this match by 5 frames to 4. I think all the potting practice from the previous shot has paid off there, and I'm nearly in the right place on the black. How about this for cueing from Stuart Bingham, as he pots the blue over the pocket, but he doesn't just pot it, he screws the cue ball back halfway down the table, which is really impressive from just above the black spot. He goes on here to win the frame and the next one as well, taking the match by 4 frames to 2. After a few attempts, I'm starting to find the position of the black really awkward, and it means that I can't quite strike through the cue ball straight enough, and at this distance just a tiny trace aside is throwing the cue ball offline. Fortunately, I finally got it, and I've screwed the cue ball roughly to the same place as Stuart. Judd Trump has split the reds here but finished on nothing, or at least that's how it appears, because he's found a plant that he's able to knock in and just about finish in position on the blue. However, Judd would end up going on to lose the frame and then subsequently the match. I'm finding it really difficult to sight this shot, especially digging down off the side cushion like this. It's gone in, but really it's more luck than judgment, and the white isn't really in the right place. Unsurprisingly, Neil Robertson was another player attempting a challenging plant, and he manages to get it off the baulk cushion, knocking the cue ball all the way back down the table for a baulk colour. From here he'd go on to win the frame, and the next as well, taking the match by 5 frames to 3. As you can see, my first attempt hasn't really gone as planned, but all I can really do with this one is aim to hit the first red into the near jaw and hope that pots the second. Unbelievably it has after a disastrous first attempt. On to John Higgins now, with a shot that helped him take a narrow 4-3 win over Ali Carter in the first round. He pots this and stuns the cue ball off the side cushion, getting it back down the table in behind the baulk colours. This is crucial because there was a red close to the other corner pocket that John can't play because he'd be bridging over the brown. I really don't think I would have played half of these so quickly if I hadn't have got my eye in playing that Neil Robertson shot earlier. I think at this stage I'm definitely fed up of talking about new technology, but something definitely helped out Neil Robertson here, as he's able to screw the cue ball directly off the pink onto the baulk cushion with enough side spin to get it on and off the side cushion and back in position for the black. I'm not sure I'm going to even be able to screw the cue ball onto the baulk cushion from this position. I thought I was going to have a problem with this shot, and after the first few attempts I seem to be right, as I just can't get into the cue ball enough to make it react and get off the baulk cushion down the right hand side of the table towards the black. I'm going to have to put a lot more spin as well as power to get the right angle, and this is about as good as I can do it. I'm going to try and see if I can hit it any harder than this, because I'm not even getting the cue ball to the side cushion, but that's just causing me to miss a little bit more, and that felt like about as well as I could strike it. The white spun down the table about as much as I could get, but I still can't get the cue ball to the top cushion. It's a fail, unfortunately. There were just so many significant doubles this week that I had trouble narrowing it down, but this Hossein Vafaei shot that was crucial because it happened on a respotted black definitely makes the cut, especially as he would narrowly win the match by just 4 frames to 3 against Jiahui. The two things I need to get right on this shot is, one, obviously get the double, which is a little harder than you might expect, and secondly, topspin the cue ball towards the baulk cushion. The topspin makes it arc down the table. I've got the double as well. That took a bit longer than expected. Up against that is this length of the table Neil Robertson double, where he controls the cue ball with right hand side to keep it in position on the black. I'm not 100% sure how you even meant to play this one. I'm going to give it a go, but it just seems like you're going to get the double kiss every time unless you play it with a huge amount of right hand side. And even then, I can't really get it close enough. The problem I've got is you need the right hand side to throw the cue ball out of the way and straighten the red up, but unfortunately that's throwing the cue ball offline to the left hand side and causing me to miss the red by further. But each time I look down the table, it feels like I've got the line right. Well, obviously except that one. But it does feel like I'm on target, and it just ends up going slightly to the left-hand side. And it doesn't feel like I can get any closer without getting the double kiss, which is going to stop me straightening up even more. So it doesn't look at this moment like this is possible, and there's nothing I can really do about it because every single time it keeps going for the left-hand side. I'm pretty confident I've set the balls up in exactly the right position, and professional tables slide even more, so I know it's got to at least be possible, but at this moment in time I just can't see how. Now I've hit the right side of the pocket, so it definitely is on if I play it perfectly, but I'm somehow going to have to play it and avoid the double kiss. This looks good. I've got it, and that's about as difficult as it gets. But which was the cheekiest double? Both of these shots get 4 because they're incredibly significant, but because Neil's is a slightly harder shot to play, he's this week's winner. Okay, I know this Jiahui shot is technically a double, but we had enough doubles already, so I'm just putting it down as a fun exhibition shot, where C pots the black off 2 cushions into the middle pocket. It's just a fun little shot. The frame was already over, so there's not that much to say about this one in terms of significance, but it was played with quite a lot of power, which makes it difficult and awkward to get it in the middle pocket at that speed. I'm getting close here, and maybe if I played it dead weight it might have dropped in if it rolled towards the pocket a little bit, but I'm trying to get it in with speed, and I've just about got it here. That took a little bit longer than expected, really. An interesting one from Stuart Bingham now, because he's faced with a shot where there's a red on the top cushion and another red next to it. So he pots the red that's closest to the pocket in off the one that's a little bit further away. It doesn't look too difficult, but it's an interesting idea, so I want to have a go at it. So it was fairly comfortable to get the pot. Unfortunately, I just topspin the cue ball a little bit too much and it stuck to the top cushion. Next we have Shaun Murphy making a great start to his quarter-final match as he knocks in a long red, screwing the cue ball back for the blue. Again, this is another shot I've got to try to cue as well as possible. I usually find the more speed you can take off this type of shot, the easier you can make it, and from playing the Neil Robertson shot earlier, it feels like I've got the hang of these at the moment. We've got a Gary Wilson shot coming up next, right after we find Ioannis from Zakynthos, Greece, which is there. Gary Wilson with a really accurate positional shot from quite a straight position on the black. Despite this, he still manages to remove the red from the cushion and win the frame. However, he'd still lose the match 4-2 to Judd Trump. Okay, here's everything I've got to get right here. To start off with, I've got to bounce the cue ball just a little bit into the cushion for speed. Then I've got to use a little bit of topspin to make it arc towards the red. And I've got to time both of these things right, otherwise I won't get the cannon. I'm not really that close at the minute, but hopefully... Yeah, this looks good. I've got it. I could easily pot that in the middle, even though I haven't really hit it hard enough. And we're back where we started with Neil Robertson. He's 5-all in the semi-final against Shaun Murphy, and this is effectively the winning shot, as he's able to knock it in, make a 114 break, and take the frame and match. I think I can just about get away with this one with a regular cue ball if I give it absolutely everything. Yep, that made the pot a lot harder, but I'm pretty happy to get it after 2 attempts, even if I am a bit close to the cushion. You've seen the shots, now it's time for you to vote for the winner. The shot you believe to be the best of the entire tournament, using the link in the description. We'll be back with the best shots of the Players' Championships probably next week if I get round to it, but until then, have a look at these 2 videos in case you missed them, of the best shots from previous tournaments. And remember, don't just watch, play, and make the commitment to becoming a better player by subscribing to the channel and visit the website. See you later.